Yo, man, first of all, thank you, Van Lathan, for joining me today, man, to chop up some things, man, have a conversation, man. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Yes, sir. To the audience, man, I want y'all to know the impetus for this, right, was a conversation that we had after I made a video. So Van saw the video. He was a straight up G about it. He was like, yo, you got something to say? We can chat and talk about it. Had a conversation about it. And what I like to do is play that clip, give Van's reaction and let Van, basically set me straight, man. And then we'll use that to start off, to jump off into other conversations. So the Democratic Party, that's what.
I think people think their gang should leave. I feel like that whole where it's like, first they came for the guy who beats his wife, and I said nothing because I don't beat my wife. And then they came for the guy who said, I love killing Jews. And I said nothing because I don't love killing Jews. And now they came for the gangbangers, and I said nothing.
Can I say something real quick? You know why that triggers me? That triggers me because I come from a place where a whole bunch of people, they're American citizens, but they're thrown away. They're thrown away because they might have committed crimes, because they got in trouble when they were young.
You should be the angriest that they care about the gangbangers and not those people.
No, what I care about is that there is a system of laws that is supposed to protect the due process of those people.
Yeah.
And that has to matter more than what society thinks about whatever they have done.
Get due process. I don't know why the Democrats are not angry about that. Because they're not citizens. We do not owe them the same thing. It has to mean something to be an American.
Van Lathan, what are you talking about, brother?
Tim Black's BS detector.
Tim Black's BS detector.
Tim Black's BS detector.
I'm not saying she's dead on, but she did have a point. And that point is very simply, why are you so bent over backwards to virtue signal about another group of people when we going through hell? There we go. And that's kind of where it started. So Van, what's up, brother?
I guess the first thing is, first of all, appreciate you for having me. So how did you take that clip? You took that clip as me bending over backwards for someone?
Yeah. I felt like, when you started off, you said you come from a group of people, and I'm assuming you were referring to Black Americans. Who
particularly Black Americans in South Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I can't speak for all Black Americans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Black Americans who I guess were not treated correctly by the system. And I think that's what you meant by that. So you initiated the conversation about Black folks, not her. So my spidey senses always tingle when I hear someone do that, because I hear a lot of people they allude to Blackness when they talk about immigrants. And I reject that framing altogether, because we not immigrants. We were slaves. We were brought here as enslaved people. So we didn't come here on our own volition. So that's the first thing that triggered me, right? And I wouldn't say triggered, but that's what made me say, I'm gonna do this video. And then she got loud with you a little bit. It felt like, I got to admit, it felt like you didn't get an opportunity to really express your whole point when she kind of chimed in. But that's what got me started, and that's really what kicked me off. So I guess we can go there.
So I wasn't talking about immigrants. I was talking about the law. So for me, is what she was talking about is she injected a cultural aspect into it, and then like on shows like that, particularly what you do is you point counterpoint. Nobody really gets to expound in long form. But what I was talking about was the law. As it related to due process, what I was saying was that anytime that the law is not being followed, like this has nothing to do with immigration or whether or not you are strong on immigration, whether or not you are weak on immigration, how you believe that immigration, legal or illegal, changes or alters the economic or social fabric of America. It's not about any of that. It's about whether or not the president is following the law. It's whether or not due process, which is guaranteed in the Constitution, is being followed. And the reason why that matters to me is because I come from a place where I've watched and actually been party to due process not being followed. We can have a cultural socioeconomic argument about immigration and how it affects America, how it affects Black people. But what we can't, in my opinion, ever argue is whether or not power needs to be beholden to the law. Because if it's not beholden to the law, I feel like the people most vulnerable to power operating outside of the law will be Black people.
That's where we got a problem. Because people are kind of framing this as if, okay, so one of the things that the Democratic Party does is they tend to take Black and say, they do the boogeyman thing. Biden famously said, they're going to put you back in chains. They're going to put you back in chains, referring to the GOP. And it's like a fear-monger tactic, man, in order to get people to go along with their legislation, man. Black people are in no position where we're going to be deported. If you're American citizens, if you're Black American citizens, this boogeyman of, you might get deported. You might not have due process. We could talk about our justice system, and there are a lot of things with our justice system I agree with. Or disagree with, I should say. Disagree. About that due process thing, yeah, I get you on that. But just the conflation of the two is what triggered me because, we ain't gonna get deported. They're gonna start taking you. They're gonna come get you next, man.
I'm not talking about deportation. Although I will tell you this, though, as we're talking about this, President Trump in the Oval Office of the White House did say that he was looking to send some homegrown criminals to El Salvador as well. I mean, I didn't say that. He said it out of his own mouth while he was talking to the El Salvadorian president. So I'm not talking about whether or not he would do that or whether or not that's going to happen. But I'm saying that he brought up the idea of taking American citizens and deporting them, or having them incarcerated in a whole different country. He said that. So that was out of his mouth. That's number one. Number two, a violation of your due process doesn't just apply to deportations. It doesn't just apply to you being deported. When I'm talking about the law has to matter in terms of following the law, I'm talking about in any police interaction you might have. I'm talking about any time that you would be in a place and your safety and your status as an American citizen needs to be upheld by the rights that you're entitled to. I'm talking about when you're getting frisked, when you're getting questioned. Like, I watch First Amendment auditors all the time, and when you watch a First Amendment auditor talk to a cop, the cops are routinely breaking the law. Yeah. And either they're breaking the law because they don't know the law, or they're breaking the law because they don't care about the law. And so the only thing that I'm saying is, as we, particularly me, we're fighting for what our ancestors deserved and what they have guaranteed us, which is equal protection under the law. So if you ask me whether or not the law should matter, I'm going to say, yes, it should matter, because my entire frame of justice is informed by how my people in my community are being treated now in a contemporary sense and have been treated in a historical sense.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that, but I can't say that in that particular segment, that was not the focus of the segment. The segment was about the Alien Enemies Act. It was about Abrego Garcia, specifically about this former Venezuelan citizen. Oh, well, someone accused of being with the MS-13 gang or twin I don't even know how to say it, Venezuelan gang members. And it was very specifically about that. And if you expanded it and took it, make it about something else like due process, I
guess this is what I'd say to that. Number one, I very clearly said that this is why it matters to me. Okay. When I said this is why it matters to me, I wasn't talking about this is why Abrego Garcia's individual case matters to me.
Okay.
The reason why the issue of due process matters to me is because of this, is because of how I believe that the law and rights, people's rights, when I see George Floyd, I see a civil rights violation. When I see Eric Garner, I see a civil rights violation. When I see the rest of these people, I see civil rights violations. I see a segment of society that is not as protected under the law as another segment of society. And I don't just see that then. I don't just see that in those terrible, horrible, extreme cases. I'm talking about laws that have been made and subverted and changed and not followed in order to victimize Black people in all kinds of ways. And so while we're talking about Abrego Garcia, which is an issue that I'm not dispassionate on, but his individual case isn't as much of a big deal to me. Like I told you before when we were on the phone, I have my own show. We haven't even covered it on my show. What matters to me, though, is that the president follows the law and that there are structures that guarantee full and free life under the law, And so when I think about things, I don't think about them in terms of Abrego Garcia. I think about how they affect the people where I come from. And that's what I said in the clip.
Okay. But the segment was about Abrego Garcia. So that's where I was. You know what I'm saying? I'm on him. I have covered the Abrego Garcia story like 3 or 4 times. And I guess that's where my focus was. I'm thinking about this guy. I'm thinking about why can't we deport this guy? This guy, he's going back to El Salvador where he's from. That's where he originated from.
You can't deport him.
Right. That's what I'm right.
Well, no. You can deport him. Wait.
Right.
By the way, once again, this is not about whether or not you can deport Abrego Garcia or anybody else. It's not about that. For me, you can deport him. You just have to do it in the way that the law deems that you do it. There are processes for all of these things. All of these things have processes, right? And those processes are meant to protect individual rights of people who are here in America. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that you can't search my house. You can search my house if you have probable cause, if you have a warrant, right? I'm not saying you can't search my car. You can search my car if you get a warrant, if you have PC, if you have the things that are necessary for you to come in and search my property. You can do all of those things. You just gotta do them right. And for me, once again, what I said triggered you, what triggers me is somebody saying, because this person is who they are, I don't have to follow the law. Because where I'm from, the people who has been applied to has been me and my people. So what I'm saying is, we gonna follow the law every time. It's actually non-controversial. It has nothing to do with Abrego Garcia or anybody else. It has to do with the fact that you're dealing with the president who thinks that he is above the law or that he can manipulate the law in order to achieve a political goal. Now, I'm not saying that hasn't been true in the past. They all try to do it. But I'm saying when you see it, you call it out and you talk about it. I wasn't part of any caravans to go to El Salvador or anything like that.
Yeah, I was about to go there. I was about to talk about how the Democrats are taking this issue and made this a lightning rod, like to just oppose Donald Trump. And it's like, brother, we got representatives. I know you just talked to Representative Baraka. Like, he got people in his home state that are having problems. He got deaths in his own prisons. And he's like, he's worried about this MS-13 member, this non-American citizen in another country that he originated from. And if he's safe there, if he's okay there, when he's not out, and we got brothers dying here in our prisons. And I think you can appreciate where my advocacy and my focus is. And when y'all had this conversation, that's where I'm at. I'm not defending America's justice system about due process. We could talk about 90% of the people in the prisons in America haven't really been given due process when they're getting pushed to plea bargain, when they're in jail, mainly because they can't make bail, Van. So, I'm with you on that. Like, I'm further than you as far as due process. I think we need an actual process that's just. But once again, I was looking at this as Abrego Garcia, I talked about this guy multiple times. Here we go again, you know, and now we're using black people to make an argument for why this guy can't get sent back to where he was. And the only reason why he can't be, or he shouldn't have been, it was administrative error, is that in his court work, it's stipulated he cannot be sent back to El Salvador due to some gang issue that wanted to retaliate against him. So that's
he
the
was
only
seeking
reason.
asylum. So look, send Abrego Garcia wherever you have to do whatever you have to do, but do it through the proper means, and don't subvert, go around, and shred the rule of law to get to you. I'm not a Democrat. Like I don't. Yeah,
I didn't call you.
Yeah, so I don't caucus with. So I don't ride with political parties. I don't have pep rallies for politicians. It's not the way that I look at things, right? There have definitely been times in my life where I have been more like that, but I think that the durability of the immiseration of the people where I'm from has kind of soured me to believing that any one group politically has the best interest of them in mind. I have to have the best interest in them in mind. I have to vote for their interests, though, which means I have to vote for a set of policies or vote for people who will negotiate policy with me. And if there's a side that won't negotiate policy with me, then I can't vote with them. In terms of what it means to look at something and see that it's not being conducted in the way that it should be. When you talk about, once again, just beat a dead horse, talk about due process, talk about anything else. I mean, I'm on the show. I got to talk about why the president following the law is important to me. I have to talk about why the law protecting people is important to me. And it's because if the struggle that I've seen from, once again, South Baton Rouge, Louisiana, my daddy from Marengo in Louisiana, old country black people raised me. And the only thing that they ever wanted was to be treated equally. That's what they wanted. They wanted to be treated equally, and they wanted to be paid for the things that they did and the sacrifices that they made to make the country what it was. And they felt like if they were treated equally and they were fairly compensated for what it is that they had done, and they had their own self-determination, that they would be successes in America, but they couldn't get that equality and they couldn't get that redress. So what you saw was things that existed in those communities in perpetuity. And so when I think about the way that I look at that, I think about equality and the law meaning something.
Well, you know what, brother? I don't know if I thought you were a Democrat or not, but I can say I was looking at it from that perspective. And it's like when it's like, you know, when you know, and we speak of your parents, you speak about, you know, where you're from, your heritage. It just makes me think how, you know, we're citizens of this country too often. You know, I'm formerly a progressive man, and I was with them for several years. And once I started to realize that some of the issues that plague my community, I did not feel that progressives were prioritizing those issues, right?
Right.
I felt that was a problem that I could not abide, right? So I said, you know what, I'm an independent. I've always felt neither party. I voted Green Party. I voted independent before. I'm going to maintain that status, and that's how I'm going to rock because of that. But I got to say, man, the citizenship is what was the underpinning, I feel, for what, and I don't mean to invoke your dad, but you brought him up, and I lost my dad recently, so much respect to your dad. I do not mean disrespect, but the fact he was an American citizen, brother. That's the thing. And when I hear these people talk, it's like they want to give our citizenship basically no weight and equate everyone to the same rights. And that's particularly frustrating when I consider that we are the people that built this country for free against our will, and our children's children haven't really had the right, as you say, the due process to benefit from that the way that the dominant society has been able to do. You know what I'm saying? So it's when it gets to, it's not just me getting like, you know, not caring about the law. It's like, damn it, Johnson, black people are the ones. If you'd have said this about a black man, no problem. You know what I'm saying? No problem, no issue with me. I just say citizenship has to mean something. It must matter that we fought for every war, man, in this country. And we still don't get the full rights. We don't get the full rights.
Yeah, we wanted to fight. We wanted to
Abrego Garcia didn't fight for wars. His people didn't fight for wars to liberate this country.
Once again, though, I don't care about Abrego Garcia. I don't care. What I care about is the fact that this is why I would say to anyone, if anybody who's studied constitutionality or anyone who's studied the Constitution or statutes or the way laws are made, if you don't like the way things are, then go change them. Go get things, go get the amount of states you need, go get the representation or the votes that you need in the House and change them. The reality is this: there is a system, and that system is there to make sure that due process, and I don't want to get into a constitutional conversation. If you ask me, I would say that Black Americans are the single most important group in the history of the country, right? I would say that, right? And the interesting thing about Black Americans, the ones that I know, is they weren't asking to be treated like the single most important group, like the group that was able to have the free labor of the country build this untold wealth, the group that was that bought all types of land and endeavored into all types of businesses and then was purposefully dispossessed from that land and those businesses through white terrorism, contract buying schemes, and crooked policy, right? They're just asking to be treated like everybody else. And if they are treated like everyone else, if they are treated like not everyone else, they're asking to be
citizens of the United States.
Citizens. They're asking to be treated like full and free citizens. You're right. I appreciate the correction there. Full and free citizens. And if that is the case, then our destiny is in our hands and we will thrive like we've thrived in the past. All of that, once again, to say, the thing that's supposed to undergird that is America's adherence to the rule of law, not the rule of kings, not the rule of party, but to the rule of law. That's why whenever there's been durable movements in Black America, a part of it has been about legislation. A part of it has been about guaranteeing that rights cannot be trampled upon. Of course, a lot of it's going to have to do with economics. A lot of it's going to have to do with culture. A lot of it's going to have to do with intellectualism. But there's always a part of it that's going to say, hey, this has to be enshrined in law. You can't do that, right? And so if I ever see someone that's saying, these are the ones that I have to listen to, and these are the ones that I don't have to listen to, I think that that is a contagion that exists at the highest levels of power, and I got to call it out. I'm on CNN. They pick the topics. The conversation is about Abrego Garcia. What I then do and say, it says, look, this is why this matters to me. I did not go up there and say, by the way, I'm not laundering what I said. You guys are free to think whatever the fuck you want to think about, like what I said. But what I'm saying is that I legitimately said, this is why this matters to me. It matters to me because I want the laws to protect Black people. And if the laws are subverted because of somebody else's political agenda, I feel like, to me, that makes my community more vulnerable. And that's it. I can't explain it any better than that.
Yeah,
everybody's free to think whatever they want to think. Yeah.
I get it. I just don't think America would ever use how they treat other people as an impetus or a means to mistreat us. It's sort of the other way. You know what I'm saying? Like they disrespect Black Americans, then they treat other people like shit. You know what I'm saying? Behind that, other countries have looked at the model that we've created in America with the Jim Crow system and formulated, for instance, apartheid was formulated based on what we've been doing, what they did to Black people, what they did to ninjas. So it's not, if they mistreat these, these non-citizens, they gonna do us nice. They gonna just treat us and then treat them like us. And that's sort of like what are some of the complaints that I've been seeing has been, oh no, they treat us like Black people. LGBTQ, but like I feel like part of what they don't say it out loud, but I feel like a lot of people be like, they treat us like niggas. Yeah, they are. Welcome to the party. But I don't want to stay here all day. Van explained it. I'm sorry, maybe I just got an issue with this Abrego Garcia thing. Maybe I'm too close to it. But I'm not a constitutional lawyer.
No, but
I'm not going to negate the law. Yeah.
Can I be honest with you though?
Please, bro.
Like the perspective, if I didn't think the perspective was valuable, like I wouldn't be on here. You know what I mean? So while I do think that there's something else that exists in Black culture, particularly with people who have mics in front of themselves, and I fall victim to this too, to where a lot of times we choose to look at each other in the least charitable ways, right? I'm definitely a victim of that too. I've done that too. It's funny because I was talking about on the last podcast that we just did for Higher Learning, I saw a tweet that RG3 had put up, and rather than bomb on RG3, I got on the phone with him, right? Because the way I look at this actually I look at this like this. Like, I love Black people. Like, I love Black people. And my love for Black people sometimes presents itself in emotion. Sometimes it presents itself in anger. But if I cannot bring myself to actually want to connect and understand Black people or Black Americans that I might not be on the same wavelength, then what I'm actually doing is doing a corporate hit job on other Black people that actually makes more money and actually and shows and gives more reverence to the corporate structures that might pay me than it does to my people. So if I'm continuously bombing on Black people, continuously picking out the bad actors, continuously looking for ways to call this person this name and call that person this name, I have to be more responsible with the way I communicate with the people I claim to love and want to work with, because not everybody that has the interests of Black Americans central to them are going to look at the ways to achieve those goals in the same way. So, but as far as anybody else that would care about anything that I would say, the only thing I can do is clarify and be willing to have the talk.
All kinfolk ain't all skinfolk ain't kinfolk. And you could pick up and you could call RG3. That's dope. You know what I'm saying? I can't do that. And we got, everybody throwing their idea, you know what I'm saying?
Because I can, I should. Right.
Well, yeah, that's different, but to that point, I just got clear because it sounds like maybe you talking about, I don't know if you're talking about me, right? But if I knew you, Van, I'll make a video about somebody I know. Like, if I know you, of course I'd talk to you, be like, yo, Van, what's up with this shit? Or I might not even do it because I'd already know your true stance.
Right.
I already know where you
do it like
from.
this. Don't feel convicted, because if I'm talking to you or about you, I'm a directed.
Let me know.
So what I'm saying is, the first person I said was me. I can get RG3 on the phone.
Right.
The only thing that I said, and I will say again, is something that we have to look at, and this does apply to you. It applies to me too. And I said, I'm definitely guilty of this, is when we are talking about how we are going to build, and I'm assuming that you want the best for Black Americans, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So then, to me, and all of the greats that I looked up to felt this way. They never, ever, ever pulled punches when they had criticisms of other people. And we cannot do that. However, there is something to be said. I don't care about being criticized. I've been on television for like 12, 13 years. You know what I mean? I was on TMZ for 19 years. You're going to get criticized. It doesn't matter. But I realized after talking to you and after talking to him that I have to do a better job, personally, me, somebody who's been in this game for a long time, of trying to understand the people that come from my community that might not have the same purview as I do. I see the world completely through race. Totally. I see the world totally through race. Like, my entire understanding of justice is rooted in the Black American struggle for equity and equality. That's just the way I was raised.
Right.
But for the people that don't see things like that, maybe conversations are necessary to understand why I'm like that, and maybe I need to be less like that. But if I want to actually evolve Black thought and Black achievement, then I have to be a utility. I have to be useful to people that might not think exactly the way I do.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely something to consider for all folks, and I can't argue with that either, man. Yeah, you're right. What's the best way to address something? What's the best way to disagree? But to me, I've been doing this so long, like you said, about 13, 14 years. Me disagreeing with somebody in the form of a video, to me, is not an attack. It is not an indictment of them. It's just my opinion it's just being voiced. Now, if I'm just running you down and name calling you and just shitting on you as a human being or as a brother, that's that's way out of bounds. But if I'm addressing the issue, yeah. But yeah, I get it's a thin line, brother. It really is. And
certainly,
yeah, definitely.
And it's a line that people don't have to walk. Like, if sometimes we gotta fight. Like, we fight, but as long as my father used to say, anything worth a talk is worth a fight, and anything worth a fight is worth a talk.
Small man.
So I'm willing to fight with you, however that fight goes. I told you I have a phone, and I'm willing to talk with you. I'm willing to talk myself out of a fight, and I'm willing to fight. I'm willing to talk myself into one as well. So it doesn't matter. But I actually investigated your page, and I looked at you, and I was like, oh, like, I agree with a lot of what he says. Like, and a gentleman like this is necessary and needs to exist. There needs to be somebody that goes, no, focus on us. No, focus on us. No, focus on us. No, focus on us. Of course.
Yeah.
And for me, I use the framework of Black justice to undergird the way that I look at the entire world. So anytime somebody asks me, well, Van, why don't you think that's right? I'm going to say, well, let me tell you how that would affect the people that I care about. And that's going to be the reason why I think it's right or wrong.
I think we're saying the same thing in some ways. I think we're saying some very similar things. It's just I started from a different point, but I think we're saying the same thing. I'm like, I don't even want to go back into it. I think anybody in my audience that doesn't get that you meant well, that you mean well, and that I mean well, like, then they tripping, right? They may just not be fans of me if that's how if they don't think I meant well, and vice versa.
Or fans,
what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
I can't convince them, man. But just the fact that Van was like, "Yo, we can talk about it," and then we actually hit DMs, and then I was like, "Okay, damn," he responded. Okay, and then he was like, he agreed. We after the conversation, Van's like, "Yo, yeah, I come over the show and talk about it." I was like, "Oh shit, okay, this is not typical, brother. Like, this is not how things usually go." So, man, nothing but respect for you, brother, for taking time out to have the dialogue. I know you say, "Man, I'm just a guy," but now you operating, you're moving differently, brother. Like Wood said it. What was that joint? Anyway, he said, my body moved different. I've
painful.
There you go.
My body different.
You move different. You know what I'm saying?
My body different. And
what I know you're a film buff.
What does his man say to him? His man said, "Niggas get shot every day, B."
Yeah. Cameron.
Right.
That's crazy. That get back to Abby Phillip, who hosted the joint. That's crazy. That's 60 degrees was a separation, 9 degrees of separation, some shit. I also noticed Van is a film buff, man. What do you I got a couple topics, man. Political representation. Sure. Let's move on, man. A Black vote has been taken for granted by both parties. And what do you think about Black power, political power and representation?
Wow. Great question.
Yeah. Check it out.
So I think, in my opinion, the reason why Black people are being taken for granted in American politics is because of the way our relationship to power. The if you even look at the civil rights movement, in many ways was able to be codified in legislation. The Black Power movement had to be destroyed. So you had to murder Fred Hampton while he slept. You had to send the FBI into the Panthers. You had to destroy all of these people. You had to flood. You had to destroy Black Power. Civil rights could be not placated, but you could make a deal with that. Black Power had to be completely subverted. And the reason is because a lot of times, and I used to fall victim to this too. A lot of times the way certain people in the community look at Black life in America is through the lens of harm reduction. Like, what laws could you put on the books, or what policy could you put on the books that reduces harm, that stops the limit that they can hurt us? Even what we were talking about before. As soon as an issue comes up that triggers me, I go, how could this hurt Black people? How could this hurt us? Because we're used to being hurt in America, or being the cattle for America, or being the whipping boys of America, being America's scientific experiments and all of that stuff. Power, thinking about power in the community realigns that. Because when you think about power, well, power doesn't give a damn about harm. Like, power assumes harm.
Yeah.
Like, if you are powerful, you assume people are going to try to harm you. And what you do is amass as much power as you can to be able to mitigate their harm, to be able to lessen it. And power doesn't give a damn about harm.
Right.
And I feel like part of the change in Black American political and economic thought has to be about amassing power so that harm is no longer such an albatross around our necks. And that's what we don't get from the American political structure. We don't get any way to get power. We don't get any sort of redress for the power that was taken, the economic power, which would really go very far to alleviate a lot of these problems, right? If you had not just the reparations and the money that was given, but if you also had what will go along with that, which is a financial understanding and environmental justice and schools and all of that stuff. Those are power building mechanisms. Those are people with real influence. And I don't think the Democratic Party wants too much influence from Black Americans. And I certainly know that the Republican Party doesn't want too much influence from Black America. I don't have any answers to these questions. And that's a real nut kick for everybody that's listening. But I do know that the first solution is to not think about who can harm you, or not think about what each political side is doing to you, but think about what they're doing for you. And in order to change that, we're just going to need different political voices that aren't as entrenched and in the guts of these political machines as they are now.
You know, when I consider the issue about representation and power in Black people, I think electorally, man, I start to think about how we've been giving our votes 90-95% for one party without even looking at the other side. Now, I'm not suggesting for anybody who's over here because they're watching, their friends or fans of Van. I never tell people to vote Republican. People assume that because I run down the Democrats so much. Nah, that's far from the case, right? I want us to become independent voters and independent thinkers, and we choose and we decide who we gonna cast our vote with. Not just cast our vote, but who we gonna canvass with, who we gonna advocate for, who we gonna send our money to, who we gonna get out in the streets with, and not just vote. Vote is easy. That's the easiest part of this whole process, man. But I think we should decide that like most other groups do, based on what's on the table, based on what they're saying they're going to allocate for us, and we hold them accountable by funding their opposition when they don't act right, getting their ass out of office, you know, showing up at events, maybe doing some protest, whatever we do, we react based on, have they lived up to their obligation with us? And I think is until Black people become autonomous, and as much of a toss-up as the Latinos are, to a large extent, they don't know what them Latinos gonna do as a block. They don't know where they gonna go. This time they, a number of them went with Trump. That was crazy for a lot of Democrats. They couldn't even wrap their head around that. But now you got to take them serious. So I think part of us getting more power as a people, as a block, we got to be willing to say, you know what? And it doesn't mean you never vote Democrat. It just means you got to look around first. You can't just be like, okay, I know people that just hit D all the way down. Like they just hit every D box without even knowing who they voting for. And I think that is and I understand when you said harm reduction, brother. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking, as much as I want to criticize people for it, I don't. I say, you know what? I need to educate them. I need them to know why it's okay to hold that vote and make a decision and say, what you offering over there? I don't even like you, Vivek, whatever your name is, but let me hear you out. What you gonna do for us? Let's hear his offer. If his offer shit, we'll let him know. But we need to have the courage to do that. We can't demonize Black people for not going with the Democrat off the break. And I think that's part of it. In certain people in certain positions and certain people of stature, Black people now are used as overseers to keep us voting that way, to keep us not questioning authority, to keep us in line and doing what the Democrats want. And I don't think it serves us, Van. So I know you got a response to that, but that's where I'm at on it.
Yeah, I mean, look, to be honest with you, you could go a number of ways with this, but I'm quoting my dad a lot on here, and sometimes my father had very intelligent, poignant things to say, and sometimes it was he's just talking like a nigga from South Baton Rouge. And one thing he used to say was, don't talk yourself. I'm not gonna say it the way he said it. Don't talk yourself out of the woman. I would say that you don't talk yourself out of the woman, right? And I have to be honest with the Republicans, and I tell my conservative friends or the conservative people I know this all the time. The Republicans make it really hard to vote for them, right? And it's the Democrats seem to be impotent in a lot of different ways, right? But the Republicans make it really difficult to vote for them a lot of times. And I'll tell you what it is, like orienting an entire political movement around saying that Black people aren't qualified to fly planes or to be mayors or to do something like that is just odd, right? Also, the history. So we want reparations, right? We want an understanding and a redress, right? Well, in order to get that, in order to have that conversation in a robust way with America, we cannot have an ahistorical American society. We can't have an American society that doesn't want to talk about Tulsa, that doesn't want to talk about the 7 Mystic Years, that doesn't want to talk about the backlash to those 7 Mystic Years that involved the embrace of Confederate statues and monuments and all of those things, and the Klan and terrorism and more subtle things like redlining and all of that. We have to talk about that stuff because obviously I always tell people to read it. Sandy Darity's book From Here to Equality is a textbook in understanding exactly what those years cost Black people. And it's not just slavery or Jim Crow. It's the fact that the New York Times had ads in it that slaves were insured, that it's redlining, it's first wave Jim Crow, it's second wave Jim Crow. So if you tell me that you want to outlaw that history, I can't vote for you, right? If you're telling me that a Black man or a Black woman flying a plane is automatically a DEI hire, I can't vote for you. If you tell me, so Trump is elected, the very next day I read something, and because everybody was freaking out, right? The very next day I read something and it says, this environmental justice initiative that the Biden administration had put into play. Donald Trump is going to get rid of it, calls it a woke overreach. So looking into and addressing environmental justice in places like where I'm from, which is right inside or outside of Cancer Alley, you don't care anymore. You don't care if the people in Alabama have clean water to drink. You don't care if the people, I can't vote for that. And it's like, if you can't, if we can't do Frederick Douglass, we can't do the ballot box. You know what I mean? If we can't do that, we can't do it. And so I would tell a lot of my conservative Black friends, I'm like, yo, there's an actual opportunity for the right to make generations long inroads with Black Americans, but they gotta want it. They gotta want it. And if they serve their racist base by continuously making anything that looks like equity, justice, or equality for Black people evil, then you're gonna turn a lot of Black people off. And that's just the way that goes. And there's nothing more that I can say. In terms of the Democrats, they're all over the fucking place. I mean, they owe more than they can give, or they seem to be willing to give. And the Republicans actually owe their own party not to be so outwardly anti-Black sometimes. And I can't do that. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It seems kind of like sometimes we're in the wilderness, man.
Yeah. Right. Like I said, man, you're making it hard for me to disagree with you, man. And look, and that's not what this conversation is for anyway. But yeah, I can't say you're wrong, man. I will say that sometimes things are trumped up in the media. You know, it is a game of shirts versus no shirts. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying? Because some things are like, oh, that's not what they didn't really say that. It's not always going to be exact, right? As far as what the arguments are, what it really comes down to. And a lot of shit that Trump is so-called, you know, did executive orders on, got challenged in court and thrown out, and people don't even know about it. Like, it's actually not happening. But
yeah. Well, I'm gonna say something right there. Yeah. That's actually true. But when you're feeding red meat to someone, you're giving them protein. People say, oh, he's just feeding red meat to his base. Think about that term. He's just feeding red meat to his base. It doesn't mean anything. Well, when you feed someone, you make them stronger. When you feed red meat to something, when you feed red meat to your base, when you just throw something out there, you're making them stronger. You're nourishing them. You're making the ideas that they have in their head more concrete and durable. They're going to be around a little bit longer. So if we get on the plane one time, I'm on a plane with my nephew. I see the pilot's Black. You know, I'm in first class. I don't do that other shit. So like, I see the pilot's Black. I tell them, yo, can my nephew see the pilot? I just want my nephew to see the Black man flying the plane, right? We don't do the cockpit thing anymore, but after, because, you know, that was a pre-9/11 thing, but like after, the pilot will stand right there and he'll say, what's up? You know what my nephew goes now? Oh, I keep saying my nephew. This is my dad's youngest boy. He's my little brother, but he's so much younger than me. He's only like 11 or 12 years old. My dad was wilding to the end. This is my dad's youngest boy. He goes to an aviation school now. He wants to be a pilot. He goes to an aviation charter school. So if I see people that are looking at that little man and telling him that pilot is incompetent because he's Black, and the whole plane has to be looking at the wing the whole time they're flying, if a Black man is flying the plane, I can't deal with you. Y'all got to deal with that first before I in any way think, all right, where am I fiscally conservative? Am I conservative on some of these other issues? How can we get together? The first thing you have to do is recognize me as a capable person before I can vote with you.
Yeah, man. You know what? You know, they say all elections start at home. The local elections are the most important elections. So you can see exactly what somebody's on, what the candidate is proposing to do for you locally. We talk about presidents, we get into the media. There's very little media going to be in your local races. Who's going to represent you. Yeah. So you know, you ain't going to have to deal with that. You can go to the town hall and you can get the skinny and know what this guy's or this person is talking about. I want to play a clip because I think if I just keep talking, it's going to be too abstract. Here goes.
Okay.
This is what I mean when I say, man, I think we need to look a little bit broader. And this is my problem with the
Let me
Democrats.
ask you this.
Okay.
What about what they've said in terms of black, particularly black men and Latinos, supported him more than they have in the past? Why do you think that is? And what do you have to say to black men and Latinos who were not in favor of supporting Kamala Harris?
Oh, honey. Oh, honey. When your favorite niece and your 13-year-old daughter is raped by your alcoholic brother or the next door neighbor, and she tries to abort that baby inside of her from a rape.
There you go. I think we can stop right there, man. That's what they do, man. They start with the emotional appeals. And the question is, like, we're talking about votes, babe. Miss Lewis, we're talking about votes. We're talking about why did this thing happen? Why did these people vote for Trump? I don't think they voted for Trump because of this story that she about to tell. They voted because of economics, or they voted because they feel like they only had two options, which is not true, but that's what they thought. And they voted because that damn couch is comfortable. And some people just apathetic, like, you know what? I don't see anything here for me, and I'm just gonna go over here and sit down. So there's a lot of reasons why people did what they did on November 5th, man. But this is the Democrat response. This was acceptable. Stephen A. didn't push back, and most people in media, people with platforms, they didn't push back about this soliloquy, this acting that this woman did about this. And this is what I see too much of when it comes to black voters and those people who have these platforms, who are given opportunity to move the discourse about elections, about politics, about black people. This is what they serve us instead of substantive reasons or reasons for people to vote.
Yeah. I got so many thoughts. Number one, I wonder what Jennifer Lewis, who is a legend, and like out here in LA, she like the godmother of Black Hollywood. So I'm always going to give respect and show deference to my elders. But I wonder what her answer would have been if Stephen A. asked her about black holes or wormholes or Mikhail Algubert's theoretical physics paper on a warp drive, meaning something that she absolutely knows nothing about, right? Which is essentially what he was asking her about. This is not what she does. So what we also have to do is we also have to have conversations that are not just conversations that are meaningful, but we have to have conversations with people who are incredibly educated in the field that they are speaking about. Even if you ask me that, someone who is a sociocultural observer, it will be difficult for me to give you a concrete, real answer about what that shift is actually about. I can give you a vibes answer. I can give you what the guys that I know that told me that they were going to vote for Trump, the black men, I could tell you what they said, right? And I could tell you where some of the stuff that they said was untrue. And I could tell you where some of the stuff that I thought that they should have cared about, they didn't care about enough. I can tell you about the disagreements that I've had with them and the disagreements that I will continue to have. But sometimes I think that, going back to what Brother Malcolm said, when we talk about like entertainers, I got a lot of respect and a lot of love for Jennifer Lewis, who is a unbelievable actress, mentor, and figure in Black Hollywood and Hollywood, period. But why is he asking her that? What does Stephen A. Smith what does that, like, why is he asking her that? Like, what if he's asking that to Angela Rye, if he's asking that to Tiffany Cross, if he's asking that to people who he wouldn't ask her why Anthony Edwards can't seem to beat a soft double team above the 3-point line when the team sends it.
Oh, Van, because she put out a video that went viral where she went on this, you know, she was not a surrogate, but she was acting as one. Like she was putting out content where she was basically making these statements. I think that's why I ain't trying to defend Stephen A. Smith.
No. I'm not.
This.
That's my man. I'm not. But what I'm saying is that conversation is not elevated political discourse. And if we're going to analyze political discourse, and there's so many things that she can speak on with expertise. But if we're going to analyze political discourse, I'm not saying that we shouldn't talk about stuff like that, because all too often those are the people that are listened to, right? Those are the people that they ask these questions to, and the people that are on these differing shows. But if we're going to talk about political discourse, then we need to really be able to parse through the numbers and really do some do some political math about this stuff. And like, I'm once again, I'm never going to be disrespectful to Jennifer Lewis, but honestly, there's not an answer that she could have given to me that would have been substantive, that would have made me go, oh, because that's not what she does. So, I mean, she can have an opinion about why she thinks this happened. You know, she could, but it doesn't. But I could have an opinion about I can have an opinion about myriad things, but then to take my opinion. So this is the deal. So if you ask me right now, about I don't know, whatever subject you had, so science, cancer research, right? I could definitely have an opinion about it. Right. But then the question would be, would my opinion then be taken and used as something that's indicative of a political thought or something else if I had absolutely no expertise in it? And I think we often do that, particularly with Black luminaries who are not learned in the things that they're talking about, right? Like, if you want to talk about why that happened, even with Stephen A. or whatever, you can have a cultural conversation about it. She can have an opinion about it, but her opinion is like, it's not something that to me matters all that much. And that's me being I do not want to piss off Jennifer Lewis, man. I love Jennifer Lewis, but it's like, who cares?
Well, you know what? I'm not, we get off Jennifer Lewis because I feel like anybody, she can get the criticism for me, but if I don't know a person, you know what I'm saying? I don't know her, but
the answer, I'm gonna be honest with you. The answer was insufficient, but I would expect it to be. That's not what she do.
But okay, let's broaden it from Jennifer Lewis. Let's look at it in general and say, we know they putting these people up here to mislead people and get people all tricked around, and just at the end of the day, they just want them to say, go vote Democrat. That's sort of like the whole purpose, like the way I see the problem that I have with the way Black folks of status are used, and they're willfully used. It's not like she didn't know what she was coming on here to talk about. She knew what she was, and when Taraji's talking about Project 2025, or when I don't know, when Luke is talking about Kamala, like when I don't know, when Plies is on X going cussing Black men out because he don't feel that they support Kamala Harris enough. Like, even though Kamala Harris got way more votes than Hillary Clinton got, like, she did way better than Hillary. No one talks about that. They make it sound like she just got destroyed. She lost. Somebody got to lose, but she didn't get destroyed like that. Black people didn't go like that for Trump, but the way that they were like berating us and talking, like, they know what they doing, man, and they doing this shit intentional. And like, part of what I do, I ain't gonna be waiting to get a phone number to tell Plies, man, what are you talking about, bro? What is all this?
I get it.
You know what I'm saying? And Miss Lewis, what's this? And why is this person? I think that's needed. And since Van, I don't have nothing to lose because I'm not Van Lathan. You know what I'm saying?
No. I mean, look. I mean, the person that I criticized about saying that was Barack Obama, because the person that I criticized about chastising Black men, as far as how they felt about Kamala Harris, was Barack Obama. Because you have a political expert, you have a bona fide bulletproof leader, couple of dings in that armor now, but a bona fide bulletproof leader of Black America, who to me distilled that a whole conversation down into something that was way too bite-sized and just way too simplified, right? And I thought that he did a disservice to brothers when he made it about that. And look, I'm up for talking about anything. If I'm up for talking about, all of this other stuff, I can be up for talking about misogyny or misogyny amongst Black men. We could have all of those conversations, and we have to have those conversations if we want safe Black women. And if we want Black women in positions of leadership, we have to be willing to talk about why some people might not be ready for Black women in positions of leadership. We owe that to our sisters. But at the same time, when I looked at that for what President Obama did, I'm like, he's not playing enough of those basketball games anymore, because if he was, he would know that that is not going to be the way that you get through to Black men, by taking belt to ass in front of everybody and doing that. That's not the way that you do that, right? And so to me, everybody that you just talked about has made a name, particularly like Luke and Plies, everybody has made a name in politics. It's fair game. Everybody is fair game for everything. I'm not saying that it's not. I don't mean to say that it's not, but I don't know. It's like, to me, I'm just not terribly interested
on that shit.
In what celebrities have to say about politics. Not really.
You know what, brother? Let me ask you this. Let's make a direct question here.
Okay.
So do you think that Black men do have a problem with Black women in politics, or, and we talking specifically about Kamala Harris in the election that just happened? Some
of them do. I can't speak. I can't speak. As Black men as a whole, I don't like to have generals. I don't like to generalize in that way, but some of them certainly do. But that's a self-scout for us. That's an intra-community conversation between for us to have, right?
Okay.
But I think I would be lying if I didn't say that some of them don't. Surely some of them do. Yeah.
Well, and to that, my follow-up to that would be, well, do you think that white men do? Because Hillary Clinton got less male support than Kamala did from Black men.
Yeah,
she got less white male support than Kamala got Black male support.
You're absolutely right. Here's the difference, and these are the goddamn conversations, Tim. All right, like, these are the conversations that matter to me. The difference between, you're absolutely right. The difference between the two instances to me is expectation. There is a special expectation. I think there's a special expectation from Black women that Black men support them. It's an expectation that's rooted in how we survived and how we built and what we were able to build, and what Black women have done to contribute to a thriving Black American community, which is what we have in America, no matter what challenges we have. Like, they have not been able to kill us or kill our culture or kill our importance or kill our influence at all. And so, whereas white men not voting for Hillary Clinton would be seen as kind of an agnostic thing. It's like, whatever, they don't have to. I think that the misogyny that would come from Black men to Black women, I don't want to speak for the sisters, but I think it probably feels particularly hurtful to them, because what they would say is, hey, we've been raising these kids, and by the way, Black women have not in any large swath been raising kids alone. There are so many studies I could cite right now about Black male fatherhood and what kind of dads we are and all of that stuff. Okay, cool. But I'm saying they would probably expect that Black men had their backs a little bit more, and it probably hurts the sisters. And I don't mean to speak for them. It probably hurts the sisters if Black men had a problem with Kamala Harris in a special way, because they expect a special protection from Black men.
But Van, why you gonna make me have to say this, man? But I gotta say it now.
Say it.
A lot of black folks don't see Kamala Harris as black. That's just what it is, man, and that's a very important thing. And when you talk about, you talk about your dad in such reverence, man. I could talk about my dad, Milton Brooks Jr., man, Washington D.C., born and bred. We talk about where we come from. We talk about it's not just that he was a black man. He's a black man from a certain lineage, a certain social economic background, a certain neighborhood where he hung out, where he lived at in Southeast DC, Valley Green High School. These things are who he is. And when you don't have that type of black American background, not your mother's from India, your dad is from Jamaica, these are different. Even Barack. People talk as if Barack is a straight black guy. This guy is half white. He's white mixed with some black, some African. And it's like these are not sisters. Sisters, these are not you. These people, if you stand up for black people, black sister standing in the gap for black people, unapologetic, will get the same reverence as an Angela Davis, as a Fannie Lou Hamer. Like these women will be raised up. These women, these people we talking about, they are not that. Barack Obama was not Malcolm X. Nor was he Reverend Martin Dr. King Jr. Okay, and Kamala Harris is not Sojourner Truth. And these are different people. Yes, they have uteruses, but they have brown skin. But it matters because how we have how black people have what we had to do to survive, and all the things that Van just spoke to. So yeah, I feel you, Van, and I just want to say I feel you. I respect women who feel that way, but to them I say, sisters, this is not a dig at you. It's not a dig at you if someone didn't rock with Kamala's platform. The woman really didn't have one that she had time to introduce or fully introduced to people to even get us excited about a candidacy.
Right. So this is what I would say. It's funny that you bring up Malcolm X, who definitely has a lineage that comes from the islands, right? Or even Minister Farrakhan, who once again definitely has a lineage that comes from the islands. Look, what I'm not about to do is get in the whole debate with Black America. I'm not about to do that, right?
But you have to mention it. You have to mention it because you know what's going on in the ADOS. You know what's going on in the FBA. You understand the terrain we talking about.
And I understand it. We had somebody on that talked about reparations. Great conversation on higher learning, and it opened up my eyes to some different things. This is what I would say about that. As it relates to Barack Obama, Barack Obama is part Kenyan and part white, right? He is married to a black woman from the South Side of Chicago. Literally, she's from O Block, and has raised two black daughters, beautiful black daughters, and was in a black church. And was caucusing with black people. Barack Obama is a black man. All right. As far as it relates to Kamala Harris's father is Jamaican. Her mother is Indian. Kamala Harris went to Howard and Pledge, AKA. Now, maybe she was playing the long game. Maybe she was playing the long game, saying, I'm going to be an AKA right now. I'm going to do this so that in 40 years, when I run for president, that I have a chip to show everybody that I'm black. Or perhaps Kamala Harris understood that she was black and understood that her being black means that there's a special cultural home that she'll have, and she was trying to find that cultural home. Is she black like me? No.
Nah.
Is she black like you? No. Is Barack Obama black like me? No. Is Barack Obama black like you? No. Are they less black? I think that we really, really, really do injury to ourselves when we start looking at things in that way. And, whether or not you're a Pan-Africanist, like Dr. Umar is, or whether or not you're FBA or ADOS, I think black is complicated. Black is beautiful. And black is pretty encompassing when you look at it. Are these people Black American, like the ancestors of slaves, or their ancestors were slaves like me? My daddy said that. This is the last one. My daddy was like, "Yeah, I like that Barack Obama is president, but he's like, it's real progress with a nigga named Larry Jenkins Jr. that that come from Mississippi. When he's president, that's real. That like when your lineage is like that would be real progress." He's like, "So y'all kids keep working." But
is he was your dad Pan-African? I'm sorry to interrupt. Was he a Pan-Africanist?
Man, he didn't think about stuff like that.
Okay, and I don't either, brother. That's not why
I
brought the issue up, right?
Yeah, no, he didn't think about stuff like that. I mean, like, you know, we had problems and issues and things that were going on in Louisiana. I don't think that his worldview or his politic ever got that big, but that was a black man that told me how to deal and walk and be a black man in this world. So, I mean, look, I get it, and I've heard all of the conversations, but it's interesting that those people's blackness was shredded when they were trying to achieve something that was
but see, when we start talking about, when people say, why you didn't vote, I brought this up only because you said, you know, you felt sisters feel that black men should have done more for Kamala Harris. That they, you know, and
some of them, I can't speak for all of them. I've talked to some of them, yeah.
Some of them felt kind of wounded because they didn't feel she got the respect or the support that she should have earned as a black woman. And what I'm saying is some people did not see her as that. But beyond that, we vote for white people all the time. So what about, what is she going to do? What was she standing on? I think is just as important. It's actually, hopefully, it would be more important.
Certainly,
you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, what's your actual plan for Black America, and what has your track record been? And what are you selling people? What are you telling people is the vision for these people that need their ears to perk up? When I'm on Netflix and I'm scrolling, I don't see a black person. It ain't on a black theme. It's possible I'm not gonna stop because I know when it's for me. And when people were scrolling Kamala Harris, a lot of people, other than the way she looked, her tone of skin, they didn't see anything for them. That doesn't mean that people don't feel a connection to black women. It's just she's one particular woman. That's all I'm saying. And if she was, that's all I was saying. And
we're talking about two different things. I think if we're talking about people not feeling like Kamala Harris was a capable enough politician, that's one thing. But if we're talking about people that didn't feel like Kamala Harris was black enough, then that's a different thing. If you didn't want to vote for Kamala Harris, then you don't vote for Kamala Harris, right? If you don't want to vote for her, if you don't think if she didn't earn your vote, then you don't vote for her. But I think what the people that I talked to were saying was that her being a black woman influenced people not to vote for her.
That's why they didn't vote for her.
Right.
Except like the impetus. Oh, that's
it was like
so
right.
Shit.
So I think they were saying something different. Look, the reality is, looking back on it, there are a lot of dirty words in politics, right? A lot of dirty phrases. And one of the dirtiest phrases in politics is "this is for black people," right? And it's so funny that when I talk to political, I'll just be real with you. I talk to political operatives all the time, and I'll say to them, I'll be like, "Well, it would behoove you to speak directly to the community. Just speak right to them. Don't say, 'Hey, I'm gonna do this,' and it's gonna help everybody out that's from this entire situation, right? And don't redirect questions. When I say, 'Hey, man, what are you guys going to do for low-income black people in Baton Rouge?' Don't say, 'Well, we have a bevy of policies that we feel like are going to affect low-income people in Baton Rouge, period, whether they be black, white, red, or green.'" It's so interesting that we get green people when we start talking about black people. Like, we get green people. You know what I mean? Like, we get, whether they be black, white, red, green, or purple. I'm like, we ain't talking about the fucking purple people. Like, we talking about the black people. And that's what we asked you about. Right. And so until people can get over that, or when somebody is brave enough to speak to that and then deliver on that, I think you'll start to see an awakening politically. But until now, it's just going to lead to more apathy. Until then, shall I say, it's just going to lead to more apathy, I think.
Yeah, man. Hey, y'all, you guys may not know this. Van is a funny dude, man. He's great with audiences. I was watching some clips of Van doing live performances in New York with his partner Rashida and dope stuff. Rachel, Lindsay.
Yeah. Rachel Lindsay, yeah.
Rachel Lindsay, yeah, man. I'm just like, yeah. So, and I was checking that out. And a plug for the Higher Learning Podcast. We're gonna talk more about that in a minute. Let me, if I can, I'm moving to another clip, man. It kind of grounds it. I did have a clip about reparations, but you already addressed it, man. It was you on the podcast a year ago breaking down in support of reparations. Maybe I'll run it just because my audience is the type of audience that's going to want to know what Van stands on reparations. Yeah, they're going to want to know that. It may be the difference.
Do you still think you're getting reparations?
No, I don't. And I don't want to piss off my FBA and my ADOS people.
No, we pissing them off today.
No, because people don't like to hear.
We're not getting it.
People don't like to hear that it's not going to happen. I don't want to. How about this?
Okay, but because they are working hard. They are working hard. They are working hard.
I don't want to put negativity into it. But what I would say is that
we hope it would happen.
You hope that it would happen, but do you know what I hope more than anything? What? I hope that people understand the depth of what took place in the country. I hope you understand why we're having the conversation, because the understanding of why we're having the conversation is probably the most important thing. Because if we all sit around and we talk about what was done or how things happened or the way things were set up, then we can understand why we need each other so much. We can understand why some of these things are so petty, while some of these other things are things that we shouldn't be like really considering, why unity, group operations, and all of these things are so important, right? Like, black people own the most land they've ever owned in America at what point in time? Who knows?
The 1800s.
1905, close. That's when we owned as more land than we've ever owned. The top 4 white landowners in America right now own more land than 40 million black people combined.
Damn.
Like, you don't get there without like a deliberate multi-generational plan to keep people in their place. And
Van, you said you recently had a conversation with someone on your platform about reparations. Have you changed your stance from that clip?
No. No. So I haven't. So this is what I'll say. I haven't changed my stance on whether or not this is what I'll change. This is what I've changed. I'm more hopeful that it'll happen now than ever.
What?
I'm more hopeful that it'll happen now more than ever because I've gotten closer to so many of the people and reached out and worked with so many of the people that are in the movement that are dedicating their entire life to it. Like, not just, it's not one of their political movements. They've dedicated their entire life to it. The thing that always makes me skeptical about it is one thing. It's one thing that America doesn't want to do. And I don't think that America doesn't want to do it because of the money. I don't think it's the money. I know that the money is a part of it, but the admission of the immense and far-reaching crime that has happened in this country fundamentally changes the idea of America. Now, it would come with so many benefits if reparations were handed out. Financially empowering black people, shrinking the wealth gap means that you get one of the most talented, the most hardest working, the most culturally and scientifically gifted peoples in the history of the world. You empower them to be the kind of contributors to American society that they always should have been, right? Everything gets better. Everything gets better. Our doctors, our lawyers, our politicians, all of that stuff, the influence and the genius of Black Americans is being purposefully mitigated for the sake of white supremacy and the American caste system. And white supremacy is such a choking entity that they don't understand just how much contribution they're holding back, right? But in doing that, it changes to me, and a reason why I think a lot of people have a problem with it, it changes to me the perception of America. And that's the thing that America is most interested in, is its reputation. It's like a preacher in the church that's like having sex with all of the congregation, right?
Right.
But it's more important to have the perception that you are a man of God than it is to change your actual ways. And so for me, when I looked at it, I was just like, they just never gonna want to admit in a real way like how they did us. They just not gonna want to admit that. But there are so many people that have broken this fight down to a science. There's so many different communities in individual states. There is a nationwide reparations movement. There is statewide reparations movements. Right. There are reparations movements by community. Like me particularly, I'm from, my people are from Maryland. There is a specific movement to get compensation for the slaves that came from Maryland, that the Georgetown, we might be related, that the slaves that came from Georgetown, the Jesuits sold some slaves and then they were relocated to Maryland. Those people are my people. That's my people. That's where they came from. There's a specific movement for those people to get reparations. So I think in the past, I was a little bit more skeptical about whether or not that could ever cross the finish line, because I was really ignorant to how much work people are doing, how much steam it's building, and how many different ways of redress there actually are. Yeah.
Man, Van, man, I appreciate, man. I'm so glad that I wasn't going to play the clip because you'd already spoke about it, but I'm so glad I did, man, because, yeah, honestly, man, I was taken aback. I was like, Van, don't think this is going to happen. And the brothers on the panel like, this ain't going to happen. And I'm like, you know, I feel the same way about healthcare. I feel the same way about, you know what I'm saying? Like so many things, you know what I'm saying? Like there's so many things that, remember, like I was a progressive, you know, I was a Bernie supporter. I'm out there doing rallies. I'm up there opening for people at rallies, and I'm with white dudes with blue hair and shit. I'm in, what was it? Salt Lake City, Utah, leading marches. I'm leading, rallies. I'm in, was it Portland, Oregon? You know what I'm saying? It's like, what am I doing here? They didn't even allow black people in here until like 1950. And I'm up here on this, and these progressives that actually think they're going to end interventionist wars think reparations is crazy talk. I'm like, America done built its everything on war, dude, but you don't have a problem fighting for that. Why come when I talk about reparations, you're being divisive? It was because it was tied to black people, because they have no reason going against the big pharmaceuticals. They talk as if this is doable, Van. So that's how I feel when people say, oh Tim, you know, hell, anything we want, anything that, and this is not a want, anything that we deserve, anything that we are owed. You're not really owed healthcare. You're not owed to live in a country that don't go to war and bomb other countries, black and brown countries, back into the Stone Age. You're not really owed that. But we are owed restitution. That's different.
Certainly.
And these people don't feel like this is an issue that we should go to the mat for. I'm like, if this ain't an issue to go to the mat for, me advocating for black people, I don't know what is. It doesn't mean that I don't care about other things. And that's kind of where I wanted to go with you is what are some other things, other policies? We want that. I want everyone to know Van supports reparations. I support it.
1,000,000%.
We're not in a silo. That's not the only thing we support. We also support, you know, closing the racial wealth gap any way we can. Van, speak to that. What else would you think would also aid Black Americans?
But by the way, I appreciate the reparations talking point and I appreciate the point that you made about single payer healthcare because I do think healthcare is a human right, but we don't have to get off on that. But single payer healthcare is something that people never stop striving for when we know that it's you know what I mean? That there's a great political mountain to climb. That's a fantastic point, bro. Like a fantastic point.
Thank you, brother.
But if you don't push for it and if you don't advocate for it, if you don't go for it, then you don't uncover so many of the problems in the healthcare system and all of that stuff. Okay. One huge one is environmental justice. Gigantic one for me. Huge one for me. Like huge. Almost basically second to reparations. And let me tell you why. I think it's encompassing of so many different things. I think the fact that you have people in places where they're not drinking clean water and they don't have access. And when I say environmental justice, I mean also access to healthy sustenance, right? So, I'm from Southern Baton Rouge, and that's the more affluent part of Baton Rouge. I don't come from the affluent areas of Southern Baton Rouge. I come from the bottom, and I come from Gardere. But the money in Baton Rouge flows when you get south of downtown. North Baton Rouge is not affluent. Let me put it to you that way. There was no grocery store in North Baton Rouge until the guy from Rouse's got caught at January 6th. And the great Gary Chambers and Walter Geno McLaughlin were able to use their influence to have them build a Rouse's near North Baton Rouge. There was no grocery store there. But not only is there no grocery store, what runs along Scenic Highway are a bunch of plants, right? So the people don't have access to, like, they're in a food desert and they're being polluted, right? So if you're disenfranchised and you're poor and you're living in that area, it's just very tough to live a full, free life when you have all of those health concerns as well. So environmental justice is a huge one for me, coming from a place that's as polluted as what Baton Rouge is. And then beyond that, almost everything is economic.
Yeah.
Like directly economic. Environmental justice is a huge economics is a huge component in it, but beyond that, everything is economic. America protects capital. Like, that's what it protects. When you wonder why the police are doing you this, or you wonder why crime is this, like, I can walk through Beverly Hills right now with all my jewelry on, but I couldn't in the pandemic. And the reason why is because during the pandemic, the capital was threatened because people had less money, right? So any place people are doing well, things are going to be okay. So what we need to do is have healthy, thriving Black communities. Economics is the key to that. I have looked at so many different areas of contemporary economics and tried to find out, like, what's the best way and I had one question for you coming on the podcast today. Like, what's the best way for Black people right now as in community to build economic power? And I get so many different answers from the people that I interview. I want to ask you about that. That's actually a question I have for you.
Wow. I appreciate the question, man. I would say for me, it has been entrepreneurship. It has been ownership for me. Now, it don't mean you're going to get rich. average entrepreneur, average small business makes about $50,000 per year. There's an outlier. So if anybody is killing it, is an outlier. That's not typical. But what it has afforded me is the opportunity to take advantage of the damn tax code, right? So I am incorporated, right? And the name of my company is TBTVMEDIA Inc. And we're a C Corp. And my wife and I, presidents, and I'm the president I'm the CEO of the organization, of the company, and that has afforded me an opportunity to be able to be autonomous, to be flexible, to bring Van on one week, to bring Shermichael on the other week, to speak about reparations and not be worried about who gonna fire me, who ain't gonna hire me, who ain't gonna come on. What you know, don't get me wrong, it's not perfect, but the entrepreneurship for me has given me a level of freedom. When I started it was always my dream to do this. When I started, Van, I was a writer in DC. I worked for a newspaper called Capital Spotlight, small Black-owned newspaper. But I couldn't make ends meet, so I had to go in the IT field. I had to give up what I really wanted to do, which was to write. And I always said, if I ever get an opportunity, I'll get back to that. I went into government contracting, everything. And I think that is liberating. I'm not going to say it's for everybody, but for those that are willing to take the risk, that are willing to invest in themselves, I would say entrepreneurship is the way to go. And I would encourage those people out there to do it. Because you can, if you know your market, you're willing to work, if you're willing, you can be successful.
My brother from the Grits and Airs podcast, Deontay, who you should have on here, he's great. He was talking about, when you say entrepreneurship, do you think that there needs to be a more concerted effort from Black people with voices to talk to our young Black brothers and sisters about trades? And man, one of my little homies, he like 19 or 20. He got a pool cleaning business in San Diego, and like he bought the pool cleaning equipment. I used to play basketball with his dad, and he used to be a little man when we was on the basketball court. And I'm like, yo, did he go to school? And he's like, nah, man, he started his own pool cleaning business. So I hit him up. I'm about to have him on the podcast. I'm like, what made you want to do that? And he's like, I saw it on TikTok. So he started a pool cleaning business. He got like one pool cleaning joint. I think he got another joint that he does that's like doing grout or something like that. Yeah. And he got his own house. He got his car. He ain't he ain't John Hope Bryant quite yet, but he's right. He's got his own thing going. And I feel like a lot of times when we're talking to people, we're talking to them about a lot of things that help them accrue debt, but not really help them make wealth. So I don't know how to really have the conversation, but I'm gonna figure it out. But plumbers, barbers, all of that stuff, things that people still really need. I just feel like I don't do enough to like promote that. Every time I talk to somebody on the podcast, they a singer or a rapper or an athlete or a politician. But I just feel like there are other ways to build wealth with really, really, really reliable businesses that we've moved away from that. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but do you understand what I'm trying to get at?
No, I understand perfectly, brother. Matter of fact, my governor, Maryland Westmore, he just signed into law programs that use apprenticeships, that use trades with in mind young Black men that may not see college as their ultimate move, their springboard for them into their lives and building their futures. And it's going to allow them to pursue plumbing or electrician or drywall or whatever types of trades, that they might want to pursue and give them grants in order to pursue that. So I think that has actually been driven by independent media, by voices on platforms like High Learn and like the Tim Black Show, man, that has caught on in the ethos, in the environment that has seeped its way into, for instance, Maryland Governor Westmore's agenda, and that's what he's doing. So I think that these conversations, like you say, man, they're very important. I see exactly where you're going with that, and I support it. And that's a great podcast, by the way, too. The Grits and the Eggs and Grits joined us.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. By the way, we're not independent. I work for Spotify. When you want, Tim, when you want,
my bad, I didn't know that.
When you want to come up with so yeah, I'm on the Ringer Spotify. So yeah.
All right, my bad.
oh no, I'm just saying I don't want people
just to name High Learning is so so Ice Cube, it's
but
so 90s.
Actually, to be honest with you, I have a lot of respect. I just have to say that because it's so many independent media. This is the golden age of independent media. Actually, the independent media push, the independent media revolution, they're going to write in the history books about what's happened in the last 5 or 10 years. They're going to write about it in the history books. Like legitimately, there's going to be chapters of world and American history that are written about how independent media supplanted legacy media.
Yeah. Ain't that something?
Yeah.
Ain't that something, brother? The ratings from our corporate, from our, what they call it, legacy media.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not looking too good, sir. Not looking too good.
And the erosion of trust.
Yeah.
People want people that look like them and feel like them telling them about them. Like,
who speak real truth to power, that tell it like it is, that leave it all on the field, that are not brought and are looking at the donors and looking at the investors every time they open their mouth. They can actually have an honest opinion. Without that, you got nothing.
Yeah.
You know?
It's happening more and more every day.
I've been able to live indoors the last 13 years since I went full time. I haven't worked for anybody in 13 years, man. I'm telling you, man, I work a lot, but it's because I want to. I tell people, man, my boss is an asshole, man. He a slave driver. I need to call CPS on him. You know what I'm saying? Something. Then I was like, yeah, that's me. But before we get out of here, Van, I want to play a clip of Van, man. I want people to know how this brother get down publicly, man. What this clip I saw, man. So Van, please indulge me, man, to put this out here. Let's see, here it goes. And it's a little game. It's you'll see. Van Lathan, the most prolific glaze. and this is the definition.
Before we go, Donnie, before you change it, this right here, this last one, is one of the most prolific glazes I think that I've ever seen before in my life. Okay, Donnie.
When Americans see deportations or repatriations happen, they're going to be like, "Thank you." When they see the border closed, they're going to say, "This is what I voted for." When they see peace starting to break out again around the world, they're going to be like, "This is the stability that we were asking for. Daddy's back."
So Terrence, that's one of yours. That's Florida Congressman Byron Donalds. And this is the beginning of the year, in January, when Byron Donalds said that daddy, Donald Trump is daddy, that daddy is home. Daddy. 3 times in my life I've been called daddy. One is when I bought a really expensive purse. The other one is when we were and the third one is from a kid who thought that I was their father, but I really wasn't.
happened.
So this nigga got on his face. And more importantly, it really was a window into, Rachel, just how attached to some members of the Republican Party or the right, the paternal relationship that they feel with Donald Trump, and it's something that you really can't talk through or talk around. It feels like sometimes.
Well, it's disgusting, and I mean we're out of we run out of slides, but you easily could have put Tim Scott, friend of the podcast. He doesn't know it, but he's a friend of the podcast.
I call him Gummy Bear.
We said we were gonna stop. We said we were gonna stop doing that. We said we were. Guys, don't laugh. We said we would stop. We said we would stop. No.
Stop it. Okay. Now the reason why I did this is because Van, you stated this is one of the most prolific glazers in the history of glazing. What about this though, Van?
Because he's got 91 counts pending right now. But I will tell you what the president has been guilty of. He has unfortunately been guilty of loving his child unconditionally, and that is the only evidence that they have brought forward. And honestly, I hope and pray that my parents love me half as much as he loves his child. Until they find some evidence, we need to get back to the people's work, which means keeping this government open so that people don't go hungry in the streets of the United States. And I will yield.
Who's more glazy?
I love this. That's Tim, you cooking, dog.
Hold on.
You cooking. I love that, by the way. Look at the production value. I love that. I love this. Who's more glazy? I gotta go with Byron, and I'll tell you why. It's just the daddy thing, man. I have such a hard time with it. And by the way, look, I get it. We're having some fun there, and we're being insulting. We are straight up. We're being insulting.
Real talk.
I get it. I've changed now. Okay. I've grown over these past 3 weeks. But I gotta go. A lot of these politicians are professional glazers because there's so much hierarchy in the party. They are. The only people that they don't glaze is y'all. Yeah. They're professional glazers. There's so much hierarchy in the party that that they have to glaze. But I'm just gonna be all the way real. And this is me at my most toxic. I just can't abide calling a white man daddy, bro. I'm sorry, bro. That look, as I'm trying to be my best at my that's a tough one, man. That's a tough one. Even that unk shit, that that Uncle Joe, even that shit. I don't like that type of shit. I don't like that shit, bro. Maybe I'm too problematic, and I'm sure at some point I'll fall victim to some of this stuff. But in my old age, it just. And Byron Donalds, I'm gonna be honest with you about Byron Donalds. I have always said that if you are a Democrat, if you are a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat, that Byron Donalds was the scariest Republican on earth. And I'll tell you why. Tim Scott, nice guy, from everybody I know that knows him, whatever. But I remember watching Byron Donalds on TV one time, and I'm like, he talk and move he seemed like a regular brother. It's not very many of them that seem, very many politicians, period, that seem like a regular brother. I was watching, they were talking about a bill that Joe Biden was trying to get passed, and Byron Donalds was in the hallways of Congress in the Capitol building, and they asked him about it. He wiped his brow and he went, "Nah, man, that thing dead." And I was like, "Ooh,
yeah,
he might resonate." I looked at him. I was like, he's a Republican because the Republicans are still waiting on their black Obama. They're still waiting on their guy who can come around and actually, because for everything that Donald Trump, he still doesn't give moderate black people a place to land a lot of times because he's so out there. But there's still going to be a guy or woman at some point on the right that is black, that has that type of charisma that could actually be the sea change. And when I looked at Byron Donalds, he reminded me of guys that I would talk to, or guys, I know plenty of black Republicans that, like plenty of them, that when they're not on these shows, they just talking, right? Yeah. But when I saw the daddy thing, I cringed because I never thought that I could see him like that. I actually thought that he was a little bit more Central South Florida than that. We cannot, and this goes for anybody. Trump can be your president. He could be your leader. He can't be your daddy, man.
Yeah.
He could be your party leader. He could be your president. Yeah. He could be all of that. We can't do daddy, man. Daddy is just so I was actually disappointed in Byron Donalds with that.
You know, brother, I can't, once again, man, I can't disagree with you that it's particularly problematic for a brother to be calling him old black dude, old white dude, old orange white dude, his daddy. But I don't think he meant it that way. I think it's just a term of whatever the shit. I don't think he really mean is that. But I mean, I don't know, bro. Jasmine Crockett she just compared Biden to her father. You know, and I'm like, your father's still with us, right? Still with her. That's some cold shit to be comparing this dude that didn't pay for none of that college, none of that that private school, $30,000 a year, whatever that was, that she was able to use and grow up with the sister girl. So I don't know, man. That sounded very, very suspect, very glazy, as well, brother. But you do admit it was glazy to be up there caping that hard on the streets of America. And the only thing he did was love, and I wish my dad would love me as much as that just sounds like some pseudo Massachusetts BDS. That sounds crazy. BDSM type shit.
If you in a back and forth, I'm gonna give it to Byron Donalds. But once again, all of these, and I love Jasmine. I bet you could guess this. I love Jasmine. I just love her. I like Jasmine Crockett. I've been seeing the last couple of videos you've been doing. I like Jasmine Crockett. I am not ever down for defending any politician based on how good of a person they are. I don't really care, number one, and it's bullshit. So when both sides try to do the we're better people than the other side thing, it's always cringy to me and always glazy.
But you know what, Van, not to cut you off, man. Let me say this about Jasmine Crockett, bro. Lately, I've been modulating myself. I don't know if you saw this in my live stream videos, because I do a show 3 hours long, 5 days a week. So you may not see all. So I just want you to know, part of what I'm on now with Jasmine Crockett, Representative Crockett, is they're using the hell out of this sister. And I don't like it, man, because when they had the conversations about who's going to lead the Democratic Party, don't nobody bring up Jasmine Crockett. But they love her to be out there in front, taking incoming from the entire world as she goes after Trump. But when they start talking about who's going to, I saw the ranking, they like Pete Buttigieg and AOC and Andy Beshear. I'm like, who the fuck is Andy Beshear? What? Jasmine Crockett on the front lines. No, so they'll use a black woman the same way they did the sister out in New York, the attorney general. They used her to put out there, leave out in the street, leave out in the ocean on a tugboat, trying to take down Trump by herself. Now she's down there by herself, and they like, hey, are you going to go to jail? What's going to happen with your fraud case? Let's say, so they're using sisters, dangling carrots. At least Trump is helping Byron become governor out in Florida. What's Jasmine Crockett getting for all her advocacy? Nothing. She's not even in the conversation for 2028.
So look, I agree.
Thank you.
I think that Jasmine Crockett, and I think that if you had Jasmine Crockett on here, that she would agree. I think that with somebody as vocal and is taking all of the shrapnel that she's taking right now, I think that she should have more leadership inside the party. And I also know that there has been leadership that she has been up for. How about this? Let me say, not say I know. I'm saying I've heard that there's been leadership that she's been up for that she hasn't been supported. And let me just leave it at that. And I'm not speaking for Jasmine Crockett, and I'm not in. What I'm telling you right now is I think that when you have somebody that is able to cut through, which is the problem that the Democrats are having people and personalities that cut through for whatever reason that they cut through, people that know how to message and know how to build, steam and momentum behind them. When you have people like that, you have to lean into them. And I think that the Democrats should do a better job of leaning into Jasmine Crockett. I agree. I completely agree.
Well, look, man, that's big of you, man, but I do disagree that she would agree with me. I think she would not want to answer that question at all. I think it puts you in direct line to the Democrats, and I don't think she's trying to create no enemies. Talking out of school with their party, and that's what the party politics is all about, man. You can't step outside of the. But that's even worse, Van. You didn't give up. You didn't admit to anything as regarding how they're really treating her, man. But that even gets me more upset about it, because it's like, I'm trying to wake people up and move them away from the Democrats. I'm a Democratic Party hater, bro. And she's pulling people to him, and she ain't making no damn demands of the party. Like, you got to demand something for my people.
I'm not going to speak for Jasmine Crockett because I've only ever met Rep Crockett one time. Smart, amazingly driven and focused woman. Very impressive woman. But I do think, I'm not saying that she's not making demands. I'm not saying that she's not moving up there. I'm not saying any of that. I can't even speak to that. Okay. But I do think that at this particular point and moving into the future that the party owes her more or should trust her more in the way that she is moving. I'm not a Democratic Party lover. I'm not a Democratic Party hater. It's all policy with me. But I'll tell you, I'm glad you made those videos because this was a great conversation. This was one of the best conversations that I've had, agree or disagree. And I'm glad that we're able to get on, and I'm looking for the time that you invite me back. And don't when you see me and you feel like I'm doing it, keep the same energy. I would love to talk more to you about all of this stuff, but I'm glad we're able to talk, man.
Van, even though, first of all, thank you, brother, for that. And the respect is mutual, brother. You're a talented brother. You got charisma. You got it. You know, you got the riz, as the young people say, man, and you got a repertoire as well. You got depth with it, and I appreciate that. We need different voices. We need people to be unique in their discourse, and I love your style of delivery, man. And yeah, man, and I'm not even talking about you standing up to Kanye on TMZ. I'm beyond that. I'm not even bringing that up because we ain't got to go back 10 years ago. I'm talking about right now what you're doing, brother. So for the brothers out there, man, keep doing what you're doing, man. You know, you're popular as fuck. So you're going to get a lot of hate. You're going to get criticism.
Certainly. Yeah,
that's because your name ring out. You know, people like, Van, what? But yeah, you got a lot of people that respect you too. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So.
And let me know. Let's get contact when we get you on the podcast. And I want to bring you on to talk about. I want to bring you on Higher Learning to talk about particularly Black people in the Democratic Party and why you feel the way you feel. I think will be a good message. Our podcast is incredibly left leaning, but we are always doing a self scout and looking at ourselves and whether or not we are in touch and in tune with what different areas of Black culture are thinking. So I would love to invite you on so you can talk about that.
Man, I appreciate that big time. Van, tell people where to go to find out more about Van Lathan, Higher Learning, and The Ringer.
At Van Lathan on Instagram and Twitter. Higher Learning is the podcast. Also have the Midnight Boys on The Ringer where we just talk about movies. You know what I mean? I'm on the rewatchables. I'm all over the place. But I'm in community with you guys. So if you DM me, I will answer you. I will talk to you. Let's figure this stuff out together.
My brother, ladies and gentlemen, the great, the one and only Van Lathan, y'all. Give it up for
Tim. Appreciate you, brother.
All right, brother. That's it, man. Van, real talk, man. Thank you, brother. This was a dope conversation, man. Real talk.
I appreciate you, brother. Seriously, man. Seriously. That was good, man.
Perfect. You made it to the end of the video. I appreciate you. Now, Google thinks this next video is going to be perfect for you. It's right up your alley. So click the next video, watch that with me, and let's keep this politics going. You're built for this.